Welcome to the Soundboard with Tofe Podcast. We are now on episode 6, so thank you for making it. We are going guns blazing with this project of mine, and to keep the format of what my episodes are about, the last one was about something insightful around data that you can apply to your podcast. Today is around something that has worked or hasn't worked from my podcasting journey over the years. Something that has worked is keeping the time frame realistic and not going too overboard straight up so that I burn out or that I get bored. That is so important because I say this to every client of mine. If you're wanting to start your podcast, what is realistic for you is releasing and putting out episodes once a month. I know it doesn't sound like much, but is it something that you're going to be consistent with? If it is, let's work on one a month. For me, I'm releasing episodes every week. That is realistic for me because my episodes are 5 to 10 minutes long, so they don't take long to edit. They're to the point, they're succinct. I can batch them ahead of time, which I love doing. I'll probably do 3 to 6 at a time. And that's just a little trick I do because if I'm managing other people's podcasts and I've got a busy week schedule, I can dedicate time in my day to batch record. And then what I do is I batch edit and I batch schedule. It's just as simple as that. When I have been working on other podcasts that I was a host on, mainly hosting and interviewing guests, we were doing weekly episodes. And it did make it hard because when we're working with guests, entirely different beast because we've got another human in the mix or humans in the mix where we've got to make sure they're on time. When we're dealing with time zones, especially when the hosts are in different time zones, that's hard to work with. So the question I want to put out to you is, what is a realistic time frame for you personally? Does it mean releasing a podcast once every 2 weeks? I met a lady the other day, and shout out to Mel Scott. She has a pretty cool podcast in the legal space, something that I'm not that educated on, but she does hers every 2 weeks. A client of mine, he does his every 2 weeks. Another client of mine, we do weekly, so we are really on top of everything. Other clients I've worked with, they do also weekly, monthly. It's also what's realistic for them. I'm going to really harp on this. Consistency and quality are two of the most important things when releasing, because your audience, which hopefully turns into a community, if they're very ingrained in what you're talking about, whether it's interviewing guests who are subject matter experts or people that have real life stories, or you're doing solo episodes like I'm doing right now, if your audience is very ingrained in what you're talking about, by having the episodes scheduled at the same time, say every week, 2 weeks, whenever you're releasing a podcast, it's like their fix. And I'm not talking like an addiction, but it's if they're tuned in for their TV shows or part of their routine, I think I should say routine, that will really help by having it consistent because then they're going to constantly show up. If you do ad hoc, or if you're very inconsistent with your schedule, it makes it harder for those listeners to stay engaged, especially the really hardcore listeners. So that's why I'm always saying what is realistic for you so that you can make sure you stay consistent. If it's something where your podcast is getting momentum, then up your schedule from, say, hypothetically, you're doing 1 a month to maybe 2 a month, so fortnightly. And if that goes well, then you can go into weekly. And then you have people that can go into 2 to 3 a week, sometimes even daily, which is intense. But what's really important is just start small, stick with what's realistic, stick with that for a while, test it. And if you think you're getting really well with it, move to weekly. Anyway, I'm going to wrap it up there. Hope you enjoyed the episode. Would love it if you could subscribe to the podcast if you haven't done so already on any listening platform. It could be Google, Apple, Spotify, also on YouTube. So if you're in the mood to watch this instead, you can. And really greatly appreciate it if you could leave a review. I use, well, it's really just Apple or Castbox that you can really leave a review on. But if you are able to leave a review to help this rank, that would be greatly appreciated. Obviously, I'm doing this for free. I'm doing this to share some wisdom and to talk about my journey as well. And that would be greatly appreciated. That would mean the world. Hope to see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening, and remember, your voice matters. Soundboard acknowledges the traditional owners of the land on which we meet today, paying respects to elders past, present, and emerging.